Hi, this is Lindsay from EquipMeOT here today to talk about bidet installation. So today I'm going to work with this Luxe Bidet Neo 120, which is the most popular and highest reviewed bidet available on Amazon. I picked it because it's very low cost. It's also very easy to install. So this is a really nice place to start if you're interested in trialing a bidet, but you're not completely sold that you want to use one forever. So this is a really cool little product. You can get it for less than $50 all in. No need to hire a plumber. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you the steps that I use to install mine. But let's first take a look at what this comes with. So you're going to open up your bidet box and owner's manual. I will point out in the manual it does have some really good tips for troubleshooting. If you're having an issue with your bidet, there's a really good section in there, so give that a look. So what you're going to get is the actual control. This is the sprayer underneath here. It should have a cover on it. And you're going to have these these actually come removed with a black gasket seal. These are what's going to position the bidet on the back of the toilet. And so there we have that. So I did have to apply these black gaskets when I got it. And then you're going to have to do some positioning on these to decide exactly where you want it based on your toilet's positioning. So we'll put those on like that and like that. And as you'll see, once I go to install this, I do have to pivot these around a little bit to get them in the right spot. So let's set that down. You're also going to get a flexible tube. This is what's going to mount your bidet to your water supply. So you'll have that. And you'll have two diverter valves. You have a metal diverter valve and a plastic diverter valve. Based on the instructions, I'll tell you both are of the same quality. They kind of say that you should do it based on what supplies you have already attached to your toilet. So my toilet has a plastic valve at the base of the tank where we're going to do our installation. So I chose to go with the plastic just to keep it matchy-matchy. You're going to get sealant tape. This is going to go around the threads on your T-valve. So that comes with it as well. And then you'll get a couple of wrenches. I actually didn't even need wrenches to do this project. All of my nuts were able to be hand loosened and hand tightened. And there's a really cool little thing on these. They have this wing nut tool that goes from one side to the other and allows you to hand tighten these bolts. So that's kind of useful. And I bought one additional supply based on the recommendations that I read on Amazon, but this came in very handy. And these are small risers to build up the height on your toilet seat. So I have an older toilet seat and my toilet seat runs completely level. Some newer ones have a little bit of a lift in the back, which will accommodate the bidet edition without any additional supplies. This bidet raises up my toilet seat just enough that I needed to add some rise to the front of my toilet so that it sat level once it was all installed. So these I purchased along with the bidet and they were only a couple dollars. So very useful to have though. So first things first, we're going to remove the toilet seat. So that's real easy. We're going to loosen the nuts on the back of the seat. So get this out of your way. Okay. So the very next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to turn off the water supply to your toilet. So for most toilets, this is going to be located in the back near your tank. So we're going to turn off our water supply to the toilet next, and that involves turning your supply line all the way off. And if you're not sure if you did it properly, the best way I know to check is to flush it and if you did it properly, your water tank's not going to fill back up. So I'm going to flush it again because we want to really empty this thing out as much as possible so that when you go to unhook it, you don't end up having a bunch of water dumped on you. So let's put this guy back on. It's out of our way. Okay. So back down to our valve. This is where having a good rag and a small bucket comes in really handy. There shouldn't be a lot of water in here, but you will have some, and you'll want to catch it with this. So I'm going to reach right under here, and like I said, mine was all hand tight, so I was able to do this without a wrench. You may need a wrench to kind of get it started, which this kit does come with some plastic wrenches if you don't have those tools available at home. Okay, so we're going to pop this off. So a little bit of water. You're going to drain what's left in there. Okay. Have the towel dry this off a little bit. At this point, you would want to take and apply the Teflon tape to the threads here at the base, as well as the threads on your T-valve. I'm not going to do that right now because it's a little extra time, but to prevent leaks, that's a really good idea. It's very easy to do. You simply wrap it around the threads, not too thick, and once you screw it back on, it'll help create a nice seal. So we're going to go ahead and install the rest of this so I can give you a show of how it works. So this is the T-valve I'm using. Really important, this black gasket needs to be facing up like this, so you should be able to see that sticking out. This is what's going to attach to the stem underneath your toilet tank. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this is going to be, again, hand tightened for now. It's got a nice little wing nut attachment to make it easy to apply. You want this piece of the T sticking this direction because this is where you're going to attach your bidet hose. All right, easy enough. So that's on there. Now you're going to take your water supply and reattach it, but now instead of to your toilet tank, it's going to attach to the base of your T-valve. So you're going to screw that guy on. Make sure to keep this pointing out. All right, fairly simple. Okay, the next piece is you're going to find your flexible hose that this came with. The bigger end, so this end, is going to attach to this piece of the T-valve. So we're going to pop that on like that. Perfect. And now this is where this little wing nut attachment comes in handy. You just slide it down and use it to tighten your piece all the way into place, which is pretty nifty. So the next thing we're going to do is actually set the bidet in place. So you can see, we talked about these a little bit earlier, these two pieces are going to line up over your toilet hole here, your toilet tank or bowl hole. So you're going to want to line this up. This is a round bowl toilet. I did a little experimenting with it and I found that if I shifted this all the way forward, the water spray was too far forward. It wasn't able to get back. So what I did is shift the whole thing back about halfway, and that worked well for me. You'd have to play with this a little bit with your own toilet. I would recommend placing it, testing it, evaluating if it's in the right spot. It's easy enough to take on and off that it's not a huge burden to have to do that. So after a little experimenting, I found that with the round bowl, I much preferred having it about halfway back. So you're going to position these two like that. You're going to grab your toilet seat. This is a little tricky to do with one person. Having a second set of hands wouldn't hurt right here. So I don't mind my struggle here a little bit. Okay. So we're going to line our bolts up. My toilet seat has attached bolts. Many toilet seats will have their own separate bolts. Okay. You can see I've shifted the whole unit back a little bit so it's in its preferred spot. Now I'm simply going to tighten these bolts on so everything is stable. I'm not going to tighten them all the way just yet because there may be a little bit more adjusting I want to do. Okay. Now for these guys. my toilet seat is now slanted down. So I'm going to use these underneath the front. Now normally, these are sticky. You'd peel off this red and apply it to the underside. Since I'm going to be removing this again when I'm done, I'm not going to adhere these to my toilet seat permanently. These do come off if you need to. It's a very sticky product, so it's meant to stay put. We're just going to use it for demonstration purposes. Give me the lift I need so that I'm now sitting level. So I've raised the whole thing up just a little bit to accommodate the extra thickness and height that I get from applying this to the back. So now I'm going to go ahead and fasten this all the way down with my bolts. Okay. Now for the last attachment, we're going to attach our line to our bidet. Little stem off the back. You could apply a little Teflon tape here too to these threads. Anywhere where you have exposed threads, it's a good idea to put a little bit of Teflon tape just to make sure you're not going to have leaks. Okay. Again, this nifty little wing nut tool here allows me to torque this into position so that I know it's all safe. Okay, so now we're going to go about turning the water back on and checking for leaks. So I'm going to give mine a turn here. You can hear your water turning back on. It's filling the tank on the toilet. We're looking, feeling around. Have any water dripping? That's good. So we've checked that the tank is full. We've got our water supply attached. We did not have any leaks, so now we're going to come back around to this side and take a look at it all working. So one thing to make sure to check on before you set this thing in motion is the nozzle guard gate, which is this little plastic piece that sticks down over top and protects the actual nozzle. This should be closed at all times. It's actually going to protect the nozzle from becoming damaged or dirty. And the only time you should open it, and it does open with just a little swing out like this, is to double check that your nozzle is still in working order, that it hasn't lost any pieces or has become dirty. So you're going to keep that closed, and there's a little warning on the outside to remind you. So you're going to go ahead and test this bad boy out, and please use a bucket. If you do not use a bucket, water is going to spray across your room because there's nothing sitting on top of this. So if you want to test it before you sit down, grab a bucket. So we're going to go ahead and test this on the lowest setting. You're going to make sure that it's turned to wash. There's going to be a wash and a cleaning setting. So wash is what you use when you use the restroom. So we're going to turn this to the very lowest setting, and I want you to see how much pressure this comes with. So we have a little spray, just like that. So that gives you an idea of how much pressure is going to come out with this, and that's at the lowest. Individuals will have different preferences as to how much pressure they can tolerate, how much pressure they need to feel like they're being having enough hygiene. So we're going to go ahead and say that this is all set up the way that we like it, and take into consideration the fact that this only has cold water. There are updated versions, there's alternative versions that have a hot water supply, which you would then access underneath your sink in your bathroom, which takes a little bit more work, but it's not a ton more work. I went with this one because it's by far the simplest and lowest cost to install. So if you're somebody dealing with chronic health conditions that may limit your physical tolerance for twisting, bending, and just having a hard time accessing for good hygiene after toileting, it's a fantastic option, very easy to install. So if you have any comments or questions or concerns, please feel free to leave me a comment below or consider subscribing to EquipMeOT. Thank you.